Hello everyone, I'm Lucy Hockings. Violence, war, forgiveness and healing. We are going to hear some incredible stories from these magnificent women, and it is my pleasure to introduce the wonderful Sister Rosemary Nyumbe, Pauline Okalo and Agnes Ogoye. Thank you very much for being with us today to share your stories.
Thank you.
Sister Rosemary, let's go back to 2002. There you were, running St. Monica's, and these girls were coming out of the bush. How did you find them and how did they find you?
Thank you first for having me here, and I'm always grateful to women of the world bringing me here because for me it is like my family. And I'm so happy to see a lot of women from different parts of the world sharing and also ready to listen to what happened in northern Uganda. 2002 was the most difficult time in northern Uganda. It was the time when everybody was living in fear, and the fear was imposed because of the insurgency of the Lord's Resistance Army rebel who were trying to fight to come to power, but trying to fight an existing government. But then their target was the children and women especially. They were abducting children and abducting women, young girls. They would take them to captivity, train them to be as child soldiers, and I noticed girls were doubly disadvantaged because they were used as sex slaves, given to different rebel commanders, and some of these girls, even pregnant or with children on their backs, who were taken to the front line to fight. Some were brought back to their own communities to kill their own people, kill their own siblings, kill their relatives. And some of these girls were badly punished by the rebels. Some were killed. And some managed to escape to come back home. And after coming back home, the society really got scared of them and they were not accepted easily. And that was the time I felt very helpless myself, like any other person who would live there. But I thought something which I could really offer was love, compassion, and acceptance of these girls in their situation, accepting them to a school I was running, but I decided to make it not a school. It became a home where these children could feel they were loved and cared for, but above all, accepted as human beings.
2,000 girls, though, you've cared for. How did they heal?
You know, the problem of healing is really a long process, and I always say it's something you can't imagine, you cannot define. It is a matter of working with a person, accompanying a person, and acceptance of a person with her background, with this background, is a really journey towards healing. And this is exactly what we try to offer. Offering our arms, say, come as you are in this center, and who will make you get healed. But you must be yourself involved in that healing process. And that's all what I have always done with these girls. Accompany them, remaining with them, adopting them, becoming their mothers, helping them to love the children they got from their captors. It's not easy to love children got from sexual violence, rape, and captors, but we help these girls to love these children by offering them that love and acceptance.
Pauline, you were only 12, just a young girl when you were abducted. Tell us about that day and what happened to you.
Thank you very much. I'm so delighted, I'm so joyed to be part of this summit. I believe that through a gathering like this, that's when her voice can be heard. It happened that one day in 2002, when I was just a little girl and a school ongoing girl, the rebel came to her home and abducted me in the morning. And they took me to the bush, and I've seen a lot of sufferings, sexual harassment, doing hard work, moving long distances on a daily basis, seeing young girls dying during giving birth, seeing women giving birth while running, seeing girls, young girls being forced into sexual violence with men above their age, a 12-year girl being given to a man of 45 years, 50, 60 years. I have seen young children giving birth and dying at the point of giving birth together with their children. And personally, I was given a man who was above my age, and I became a housewife to him for 7 full years that I have spent in the bush. So when I got an accident and I got the opportunity to come out to the hospital through the peace talk team, I got opportunity of escaping out. And so when I escaped and came back home to Uganda, I got opportunity to meet the person who abducted me from our home. And so when he saw me, he became so scared of me, thinking I might do something wrong to him. But that was not my intention. I decided in my heart to forgive him and take him as my own brother, because I believe that he was forced into abducting me because he was a young boy who was taken by force from his family, and so I could not really decide to do something wrong to him or harm him, but just to forgive him in order to set my heart free.
Pauline, you describe your daily life almost pragmatically to us now, but how did you cope with the things that you were experiencing and the things you were seeing every day?
Personally, I would have to be sincere that when I came back, I did not go through any counseling. But within myself, I tried to fight out things and cope up with life in the community and then live the way the community live so that I can fit in the community. Not that because I didn't want to go through counseling, or not that because there were no counseling services to be offered to me, but I just wanted as a person to try fight the things within myself. I think the most important thing that made me cope up with my life was about giving my life to Jesus Christ. I believe so much in God because all the years I've been spending in the bush, I believe that God was working with me. And if it was not God, I would have not come back alive, because my own friend, my best friend, was killed, murdered before me. Why not me? So I coped up with my life and everything that happened to me, all the painful experiences that I went through. I just told God, maybe this is the only way you wanted me to live. Maybe it was a plan that it has to be fulfilled in my life, but I have to cope up with life. Life continues. The past is the past. And so my focus is, I have to make sure that lives continue, that I continue moving with life.
Agnes, Joseph Kony is wanted by the International War Crimes Tribunal. We don't know where he is, but people describe him as having charisma, which is hard to imagine when he has committed these acts that we're hearing about of unspeakable brutality. Can you tell us what sort of man he is?
Joseph Kony, first of all, having run away from the Lord's Resistance Army, myself, as a child, and being displaced, with my family and being targeted because we are virgins, and seeing my cousin's sister being dragged off and his brother coming forward, to try to tell them that this is my wife so that he can save his sister. And, battling that, and seeing Joseph Kony, purportedly talking about his 10 commandments, having that charisma and to witchcraft, and looking at, the children, who have survived. We had a child from our center who was abducted at 6 years old, watched his mother raped and killed, and we got him back at 14 years old. And there's all this fear and this thing about Joseph Kony, such that even if you're not in his presence, it instills that fear and brings in, the witchcraft. And, the girls, such that some people are even scared of running away because you think he has these powers. And for me, Joseph Kony, there will only be like closure if he's captured.
Pauline, you're nodding. Tell us your experiences with Joseph Kony. You knew him.
Joseph Kony is just like any other human being, but he has his uniqueness in such a way that he believes that he has a Holy Spirit that guides him in everything that you do. I mean, when you are just abducted, there's a way they remove, they undress your shirt, and then they apply oil on your forehead and your behind. To them, they say that when you're trying to escape, so that oil that is applied will help them to catch you, to get you. So it will prevent you from escaping from them. But personally, I've been with Joseph Kony for all these years that I've been with them, but I've failed to understand him. This is a kind of a man who he recognizes, he gets to know when the enemy are coming against him before. So that's where it's really hard to get him, because he knows something before it happens. So I do not believe actually that he has the Holy Spirit, because as a Christian, I believe that the Holy Spirit does clean things. The Holy Spirit does not kill. The Holy Spirit does not destroy the community. That's why I say I really don't understand him well, but yeah.
Sister Rosemary, we can't really imagine some of the stories that you've heard from your girls. But when they come to you, it's often because they have nowhere else, because their families or their communities have shunned them. What do you say to other people about welcoming these girls back and showing them love?
You know, it's so difficult to find the right words to tell people, but it is really the action. People see that we accept these girls knowing their background and we live with them in one place. Because for me, I totally believe these girls needed people who could restore their confidence. Some adults who could become their mothers, who can say, I know your past. I know you have been subjected to killing. I know you have been taught to do so many bad things, but I accept you as you are. That's all what we did. And for me, I found that was one way which really brought a lot of confidence in these young girls. Eventually, a lot of them started telling their own stories. I began to listen to so many painful stories which I had never imagined. Things which happened to these girls. Like one time I had 2 girls. I didn't know. I put them to sleep in one dormitory together. Then one girl came to me and said, Sister Rosemary, the girl you put with me in that dormitory, I feel so guilty staying with her because I was one of those who participated in killing her parents. I was forced to kill the parents. And I just didn't know what to do. I said, listen to me. You have been helping her, taking care of her baby. She is your sister. You know that she was forced to do that. Have you forgiven her? She said, yes, I'm helping her to take care of her baby. And I felt it was a great moment for that girl freeing herself by speaking to me. And I could see they were living together.
Speaking to you now and also earlier, you all talked to me about forgiveness, which is remarkable. Agnes, do you see this all the time, the struggle to find forgiveness, and then how does it change women's lives when they can forgive?
I think forgiveness is really very, very important because it frees you, first of all. So you forgive also for your sake, because if you keep that bitterness into you, it won't help you. And especially that, people who killed and people who were, taken by Joseph Kony were abducted. So how do you kill somebody? Why can't you forgive somebody who did something, in which they didn't want to do? That's the same thing I deal with when I'm dealing with my Hearts for Peace program. When I challenge women, who were because being homeless and being chased away from their homes because, their child or their husband, participated in terrorizing the communities. So I said, why don't we build these huts ourselves? So as women, we do the construction, we collect water. And while we are doing that, it's not just about building houses, but it's about spreading a message of peace, and forgiveness in community, dealing with issues of HIV, AIDS, which affect us. So that is very empowering. They see value in that. And taking care of children who are not even of your own, because there are so many. And me, that's how I got, the plow so that they can, grow food on their own. So when they see this value and women building these houses, and sometimes, the men get embarrassed and join us. And so it helps. That's why it's also important for us to tell our own stories. That's why I've decided I have to tell my own story in a documentary.
And Sister Rosemary, how do you deal with these children, particularly that have come from a violent sexual experience? As they're growing, what do you say to them? What do you say to their mothers so that they can heal together? I mean, it must be so hard for these children.
My approach has been totally different. While everybody concentrates on giving them rehabilitation, counseling, and so forth, I found out I am not prepared for that. I'm not a counselor. I'm not even a psychologist. But I've realized one way of giving rehabilitation is indirect, giving them different activities, daily basis, teaching them how they can cope with life. Because you are not accepted in the society. People look at you as hopeless. Sometimes people were calling my girls Dwogpacho, which means returnees. I say, they're not returnees. They are children of the community. So I started giving these girls skills training, saying, you must sow away your pain with your own hands. Take your destiny in your own hands. The community will respect you. The community will value you for what you do. They're not going to define you with what you went through. And I tell them clearly, let us not dwell on the past. The past has gone and you will never recover it, but there is future. We can walk in hope.
Well, then, what was it that got you through every single day when you were witnessing such violence and you yourself were subject to such violence and you saw killing and you saw death? Was it anger or belief that you would one day escape, or faith? What got you through that terrible time?
I was able to stand that terrible moment that I was in the bush, simply because I knew my day might come that I will be able to get out of that place. I knew that I had a belief in me that, I'm so sorry, I always, I love God, and everything I do, I make sure I mention God. Mm-hmm. Even though I was in that situation, I used to pray a lot. And then I used to tell God, I know you have not brought me here to die, but you have brought me here to prepare me for something in future. So even when I was in that situation, I was very strong, knowing that God is molding me for something. So when I came out and I sat down and I thought deeply about it, and then God spoke to me through his servant, telling me that he brought me back for a reason. He wants me to be the voice of the voiceless. He wants me to speak for children who are suffering in the war. And so that's why I decided to come out to respect God's voice. Not because, I wasn't interested. Personally, I had gone through that. I know how it feels to be in such a situation, in such a difficulties. So I decided to become their voice. So even when I was in that situation, I knew God was molding me to become somebody.
Sister Rosemary, you now work with some of these girls making the most beautiful bags, but out of quite an interesting material. There are some in the audience, actually, if you want to see some of these bags later. But
yes, they're there.
And here they are here.
Yes, that makes me very happy. When I'm talking about sewing away pain, that's one of it. And then my whole emphasis is on putting trash to treasure. And the reason why this is very significant for me is these girls were once considered as trash. They were not cared for. They were put aside. But you can see how beautiful they are now. That is my aim. That's why I decided to continue collecting what is considered in the society, in the United States, or even here as trash, bottle cans. You would think, who is that crazy woman who would think of bottle cans or collecting plastic bottles to rehabilitate life? When I started doing this, I personally taught these girls how to make these purses. You know, it's very difficult to teach or educate these girls because they were abducted from early childhood. They lost their chances of education. But I've realized practical skills was not taken away from them. They were abducted with that. They went with it in their brain. That's why I decided to teach them what I learned as a hobby, as a child, to crochet. And of course, we started collecting this trash, putting pop-tops together and making them beautiful. And up to now, I am the quality controller. Because I tell them, I say, girls, I don't accept rubbish. Whatever you produce must be beautiful for here and even internationally. Because we want a good name. I want the world to see the beauty of these girls. I want the world to see the beauty in what they produce. And I ask people, please, buy these purses. Don't feel the pinch of the money you give me because you're giving me money to put together the life of a girl and her children. You're mending their lives together. You're making them look beautiful again. Thank you.
And you're giving these girls self-esteem and self-worth. And Agnes, I also wonder how women must feel and young girls when they're actually building their own home, which is what you do for Huts for Peace as well. What does it do to a woman to think, I've created a place for me and my children?
It's very empowering because in one of the huts, somebody even says, this is my home. So this is like, ownership. You have a place to enter. And then you have all this community. And it brings that, empowerment and self-worth. So I keep telling people, even if you're supposed to help me build these huts, don't just construct huts and say let the women move in. They have to be part of the process. So what I do, you just get materials. I save my salary and just get materials which are not got from the community, which are nails, but they have to collect the water, they collect the grass, and we do it with joy, and the men come. And the beauty about it, you give them even leadership, because somebody hasn't been in charge of the money when we are building your heart. You're in charge of, the feeding, and you bring, children together and you bring community. So that is very, very empowering. Yeah.
Just finally, do you all feel hopeful for the future now?
I totally feel hopeful, and I really know the hope is that women are going to walk in dignity because I'm witnessing women already walking in dignity in our society. And of course, you are seeing few of them. There are a lot of them I see who started their own small businesses, who are supporting their children, who really know that much as these children were got from this difficult situation from their own captors, they feel this is blood from their blood, and they love these children. And so for me, my hope is focusing on education of mother and child. These women, I don't separate them. I bring them together. I actually introduce a daycare, kindergarten, mothers studying there. So if you're pregnant, come, give birth. I started a maternity center, and then you go to school, your child goes to school.
Well, I promised you inspirational stories, and I think we've heard them. Ladies, thank you so much.
Thank you.